Welcome to another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. I'm Steve Gamache, and what we're looking at today is the Gihei Aogami, our blue number 2 Gyuto 240mm knife. So the core steel on this line of knives is, as mentioned, what's known as Aogami, our blue paper number 2 reactive high carbon steel from Hitachi. The heat treat's about 62 to 63 Rockwell. And on this line of knives, the core steel is the star. We'll get more into that, but I'm really impressed with this core steel, as are a number of forum members with some experience in it thus far. The construction of this knife is a 3-layer sandwich with softer stainless steel cladding on either side of that harder Aogami number 2 core, and you can easily see the core steel showing at the edge. I have been using this knife actually a fair amount. I'm not a pro, but I've been using it a fair amount at home, and so you've got a bit of a patina going on with it. I found it actually to be pretty minimally reactive, or kind of, fairly minimally reactive for a blue steel, so it's very good on the corrosion resistance for standard blue steel. It's a nice feature of it. Also, the cladding has been quite low reactivity as well. Sometimes cladding can be slightly reactive, even though they say stainless, but this one's been pretty stainless in practice. These are beefy knives with some stiff spines and great grinds, and this one is no exception. It's got some heft to it, so it's kind of I'm going to call it a medium heavyweight, kind of a, let's just say light heavyweight 240 Gyuto, so it's got some mass to it. This one's 8 ounces, about 227 grams, and the weights and dimensions are going to vary a little bit from knife to knife, because they're handmade, but that's what this one is. The edge length on this one's right about 240, or almost 9.5 inches, and the overall length about 16 inches from handle to tip of the blade. The spine thickness, again, these are very to vary, but this one's pretty thick coming out of the handle, but then it thins down to about 4.4 millimeters above the back of the blade, and then thins down the next few inches pretty much down to, I don't know, high 2s, maybe possibly 3 millimeters, but around 2, high 2s, but then it gets really thin. Nice distal taper towards the last 1.5 inches or so, and thins out really well at the very tip. This tip goes through stuff very, very well, trust me. So they do a great job on the grind on these things. Blade height on this one is 51.8 millimeters from edge to spine at the back of the blade. And then the handles are different on the other ones in the lab. This one, and there could be some changes, but this one has got an octagonal handle. It's ambidextrous, and it's an oak handle with a buffalo horn ferrule. And these handles are really well done on all of them. It's pretty smooth. They got a little bit of a, you can feel the edge there, but there's no raised bumps or anything. It's pretty smooth all the way through. And then you've got a nice tight handle install as well, and nice polish to the buffalo horn. So these are really well done handles. The look, you can kind of tell the look on the oak is kind of warm. It's got some nice grain to it. So it's a pretty cool handle material. It's a little unusual. So it's nice. I like the way it complements the knife. The balance point, the handle's got a little bit more heft to it than the Magnolia ones, so it brings the balance point back to kind of a reasonable point. And that's where it is on this particular knife, which if I pinch grip, is just a little bit behind there, not too far. So it gives the knife some weight forward mass, but not too much weight forward, if you know what I mean. But it does overall have some heft to it, so you've got some cutting power, and it definitely feels like you have a decent chunk of steel in your hands, which you do. So let's take a close-up look at it. So here's your beauty shot of the blade. So these have some embossed kanji plus their kind of horse logo. Pretty sweet. And they're not chiseled, but it is embossed. And then here's the back side of the blade, and you've got some embossed kanji there. The cladding line you can see very easily there, where it meets up with the core steel. And then these have what's known as a nashiji, or pear skin finish. It's a fairly subtle effect. It's not a real deep finish with lots of texture like on some knives, so fairly subtle effect. And these are slightly more rustic, kind of refined rustic, but slightly more rustic, let's say the Masakage Yuki series normally are. So they've got a little bit more what they call wabi-sabi, or we'll call it character, which some people love that, some people don't. I personally think it's pretty cool. So definitely you can always tell these are handmade, no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They've done a great job polishing the spine, rounding off and polishing the choil into the back of the blade, into the neck of the handle. Plenty of room here for a pinch grip, really comfortable, nothing out of the box you got to do for that. The grinds are done really well. This is thin at the edge, and this thing really performs. Again, it's not a laser, but it doesn't wedge a whole lot. Food release is quite good. The profile is awesome. We'll show you that. Very thin at the very tip. These babies get thin where it counts right at the tip. This is just a really nice combination of features. And again, it's unusual for a knife with that much heft to have this much performance. The out-of-the-box edge was good. It was about a 5 out of 10, kind of average, but I took it to the stones and put a new edge on it and kind of cleaned up the geometry in the edge, and man, this steel got so sharp for me. I'm not the world's greatest sharpener, but this got stupid, just shave hair off your arm to your heart's content sharp, and it's kept the edge really well. All I've had to do is strop it a few times. Actually strop it one time, a few strokes on each side, and it's come right back. And got a lot of bite to it. So again, I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but the steel has been really highly lauded on the Chef Knives to Go forums, and so it's been one of the better renditions of blue number 2 that I have had my hands on. And again, I'm no expert sharpener, but I can't believe how sharp this stuff got for me. It got white number 1 sharp, I'll tell you that. So here is the profile. And again, this will vary a little bit from knife to knife, but there's a nice flat spot towards the back half of the blade. And that's kind of their style with these, it seems, on the Gyuto knives, is to put a pretty decent flat spot towards the back half of the knife. And then this one has a reasonably high tip in relation to the overall line of the knife, so it'll get about right there before I start digging the tip in. It's not a super high tip, you've got a gentle belly, but they do such a nice job grinding these that the edge profile is just smooth as silk. There's no hiccups, no bumps. You can just tell when it's got a quality knife grind. Then they've taken their time on, they've ground it well, and they've done some of the little stuff to make it, a smooth profile is not automatic. So it takes some skill to do that. And this is butter smooth. And every knife on their line has been butter smooth. So that's a good sign. So I've been using this knife quite a bit, and I don't know if this one's going back. We'll have to see. That's how much I like this knife. And as you know, I need a knife like I need a hole in the head, but I don't know. We'll see. May have to sell some stuff. So anyway, this is the Gihei Aogami, our blue paper number 2 Gyuto 240mm knife.